Okay.
Okay. Okie dokie. Iris,
Yes.
tell me, when was your first experience in journaling?
My first experience in journaling was in 1993, on January 7th. My 20-year-old son, Eric, took his own life.
Okay.
And I was in sales and marketing and speaking, and I lost my voice. I couldn't speak.
Okay.
But I needed to express my emotions.
Sure.
And a friend of mine had given me a journal, like probably 3 or 4 years before. Of course, it was empty.
Of course,
And I picked it up, and I started writing letters to my son.
yeah.
Dear Eric, I miss you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Right.
I wish you were still here. Why did you do what you did?
Sure. Yeah.
And as I wrote, I was able to speak to him. I was able to express my emotions, my grief, my heavy sadness, my anger, my just all those emotions that come with grief.
Sure.
And as I wrote, I found that I was able to put those thoughts that were in my head that were causing me not to be able to function.
Yeah,
like,
causing you to be depressed.
or
Sure.
not knowing where my car keys were,
Yeah,
or if
sure.
I went to the store, what was I getting?
Right.
Because in my head, I was with Eric.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to be with Eric.
Yeah.
So as I put those thoughts down in my journal, I was able to clear my head, and I was able to start functioning and being more in the world.
That's great.
And so that's how I started journaling.
All right, good.
And I continue to this day.
And how did you get into what you do now as far as your imagery, your imagery journaling, your journaling that...
Most of my imaging
collage and stuff.
journaling is a collection of memorabilia.
Okay.
In the first journal, as you see, it's it's falling apart actually. But I have pictures of my son. But I also have
show the camera.
My son Eric is here. That's Eric.
Okay, I'll do a separate thing for this.
And I would put in pictures, things that people sent me.
Okay.
So my collaging is more a collection of things that I've gathered, things that people sent me, things I want to keep, and I don't know where to put them.
Right.
They go in my journal.
I think that's a good place to put them, for sure.
It is.
Because sometimes, you put them somewhere and it doesn't make it very special. Yeah. So do you find that you might take an object that you find and then write about it? So, because you are a writer?
I do. Yes.
So it actually triggers you triggers a thought or triggers something that you're writing about.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. I think that's great. Okay.
And I still continue to do that. Half of my journal are pictures and things I've sent people. People send me cards. So everything goes in my journal.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And of course I date my journal every...
Sure.
It's important to date your journal.
Yeah. Well, I think that's wonderful. I think that's a wonderful thing to do, for sure. Okay. How do you feel your journaling has changed over the period of time?
Well, first of all, I'd like to add, how has journaling changed me?
Okay,
is that okay?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, that's a great question.
Journaling saved my life because I was able to put in the journal my emotions. I was able to go on and find that even though I went through this heavy grief, which many people do, I found that it was my way of coping and of grieving and of surviving and thriving.
Yeah.
And it changed me in that I found strength that I never knew I had. I found words that I never would put on paper. And because of that, because I started journaling, I wrote things like, I want to walk a marathon.
Okay, so those things were revealed in your journaling process.
In my journaling, so I wrote, I want to walk a marathon. And a couple weeks later, I get an invitation to
Oh, that's
join the
great.
team in training to walk a marathon for
Wow.
leukemia and lymphoma
Okay.
to raise funds and awareness.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, walking helped me heal,
Mm-hmm.
so now it's time for me to help someone else
Mm-hmm.
heal by
Mm-hmm.
walking.
Mm-hmm.
So I write these things in my journal, and then I do go back and read them, not on a regular basis, but I have gone back and read my journal,
Sure.
and then I index them to tell
Right.
me what's in the journal.
Wow.
And as I'm reading the journal,
Oh, that's a great idea.
I find out, oh my gosh, I wrote down, I want to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a book.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down, I want to be healthy.
Yeah.
So I write
So
these
you,
things down, and
I
they
think
manifest.
that's a great, that's
and
a
they
wonderful,
manifest.
that's a powerful way for your journal to work, for
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So, and how it changed, my journaling has changed in that in the beginning, it was all raw emotion,
Mm-hmm.
like, and anger, and how am I gonna make it through this day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that was the beginning of my journaling, and now I've found that my journaling, instead of looking at the past,
Mm-hmm.
is looking at the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look at the future.
That's wonderful.
Another way it changed, I started writing poetry also,
Mm-hmm.
and I became involved with a National Poetry Society,
Mm-hmm.
National Association of Poetry Therapy.
Yeah.
And in that, I found a woman by the name of Kay Adams. At the
Mhm.
time, she was the president of that.
Right.
And she is a journalist, and she has written many, many books. And she has a training program to teach journal writers. And it's called Journal to the Self. And this is one of her very first books, Journal to the Self.
Yeah.
And it's 22 Paths to Personal Growth.
Wow.
And so that's what she teaches and what she promotes, and that's how journaling has changed me, because now I journal for personal growth.
Right, right, that's right. And then you also do workshops as well.
And teach workshops.
And
So
teach
I'm
workshops,
a certified instructor
Mhm.
to the Journal of the Self.
Okay.
I haven't been doing too many because we just moved,
Yeah.
and life
Is
got
that something
a little
you're
bit crazy.
planning
It
to
is,
do
now
again?
that we're settled in our new home
I
in
think
Southern
that's a great
Pines,
idea.
I want to start having more.
There's a lot of hunger for self-growth.
Yes.
And we're a pioneer. You know,
Yes.
we're a pioneer.
Yes.
Basically, we're pioneering this whole stuff, all this stuff.
Right.
And so you're coming in at a good time, because I
No,
think
I'm not coming in. I'm just expanding.
yeah.
I've been
You've
in it for
here.
a long
yeah,
time.
You've been here. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. But I
But-
mean, you're
but-
coming back. You're coming back.
Well, in my previous, when I lived in Ohio, I
Mhm.
did a lot of journal writing workshops and
Mhm.
poetry writing workshops in nursing homes,
Oh.
assisted living.
Is that something you want to do?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I
okay.
also taught poetry to kids camp, kids with learning disability.
Wow. Okay.
Grief workshops. I put together a grief workshop using poetry and journal writing.
Oh, that's a great
So
idea.
that's an area that I want to get back into
Okay.
now that we've moved.
That's fantastic. Well,
So
I'm
I've done
excited
some things
about
in the
that.
past, it's just because we moved.
Yeah, sure.
It's been on a
sure.
hiatus here.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see that here. For sure.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to be here. You know, this is a very creative area.
It is. It is.
I feel
yeah,
that-
it is.
And
That's-
I mentioned, is this where I can mention that I use my journal to write a book?
Of course.
So
Of course.
because I was able to journal
Mhm.
my healing journey,
Mhm.
I started, as I said, 2 weeks after my son died, but I went back and wrote about the day he died.
Yeah.
And because I was able to journal it, I decided to write a book.
Mhm.
And because I had the journal,
Mhm.
I was able to go back and read all my journal entries.
See, that's
Because
very
it was
important.
very emotional, because I had to relive it. And out of that journaling experience, I wrote Tell Your Story Walking,
Yeah.
One Mother's Legacy.
Wow.
And it's the story of my grief
And of course, that reaches
my
out to other
healing
people.
and my
That touches
thriving.
other people
Exactly.
who
And-
experienced maybe something similar.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it has, and
Yeah.
it has, yes. So if I had not journaled,
This never would
I
have
would
happened.
never
None of
been-
this would have happened.
I would never would have
No,
been able to
you
write
wouldn't
a
have
book.
written a book. No.
Because
never.
when you're in heavy grief, you lose a lot of memory.
Yeah.
And
But now, tell me about yourself before your son died. did you write at that time? Were you
I
writing?
wrote term papers.
Okay, okay. So you literally changed. Okay. I guess we'll just go from the techniques.
The
then.
techniques.
The techniques.
Okay, so
yeah, the techniques are good.
Yeah, so you asked me what techniques
What
that
techniques
I use.
you use?
Well,
Yeah.
I mentioned to you that I've become a certified facilitator for
Right.
Journal to the Self
Right,
by
right.
Kathleen Adams.
That's right.
And so I have learned some techniques from her that I still use today. The one that I use a lot, all the time, is 5-minute sprint. So it's just, if I have 5 minutes, I can sit down and write just whatever I want to write, stream of consciousness for
Right.
5 minutes.
Right.
What happens is you lose track of time and you may go over.
Sure,
But you can
sure.
set a timer and just
Sure.
write for 5 minutes if
Yeah.
that's all you have.
Exactly.
Sometimes if I'm getting ready to go out, I will just sit down and because I only have 5 minutes. So that's one that I use every day. Another one that I use quite a bit is called topic du jour. It's like a soup du jour. You make a column of 1 to 31 for 31 days, and you decide what you would like to write about every day or once a day.
Okay.
So it could be, like I start with gratitude on day
right,
1.
right.
What am I thankful for?
Yeah.
My grandchildren, these are the topics that I would write, a 1
So
to 31.
you write a topic a day. Is that
Well, I
what
would
you
have
do?
a list of 1 to 31.
All right. Okay.
And so when I don't have it on this journal, but I would have 1 to 31. And it's usually in the back of my journal. So I look to the back. Oh, it's February 11th.
Okay.
Okay?
So you choose that one according
February
to the date.
11th,
Yeah.
I wrote grandchildren. So I might write about my grandchildren. Work that I'm doing right now, the creative work that I'm doing, things that I want to accomplish in the next year. Mostly my husband, Jim, I'll write about something about him. So every day, if you don't know what to write about, you just look at your list.
Yeah,
And on today,
I like that. I like that idea. As I said, one of the things that my problem is that I do journaling, but most of all, it's journaling about what I'm doing that day. And it's more like a record or something.
Right.
But I like the idea of it being a little more deep, a little more deep about myself, a little more self-discovery, self-exploratory.
And that's what all these techniques do. One that I didn't know that I was doing from day 1 is called an unsent letter. And that's exactly what I did. I started writing letters to my son.
Right.
I, of course, couldn't send them. Sometimes if I'm frustrated with someone in my life, my daughter, my husband, or even maybe someone I just met or someone I haven't seen in a while, I'll write about that and write them a letter.
Right.
Of course, I don't send it. I just
And
write
do
that
you
letter.
save it? Do you keep it? Or do you throw it away? Or what do you do with it?
Usually I keep it.
You keep it.
But, and this is a big but right now, we just moved and now I'm going through and I'm getting rid of some things.
Stuff, yeah.
And so now when I see something that I choose not to keep, I will get rid of it. A lot of people burn them or bury them or whatever ritual you decide to choose, you can do that.
Sure.
For some reason, I just... sometimes I like to go back and read them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes I think it gives you some insight into your growth.
Yes.
and
or
like
how that relationship was at that time.
Right. And what you learned about it.
Exactly.
What you learned at that time. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah.
Another one that I like to do is called captured moments. Because I like to take pictures. I have a ton of pictures of people and places and everything, and so a captured moment is like a photograph. It's this captured moment, what's happening in this moment right now.
Right.
So I could write a captured moment about right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with Joy, I describe her long red hair, and we're smiling and we're laughing, and we're in this beautiful art studio of hers with pictures on the wall, and I'll just describe that whole thing as a captured moment.
That's a captured moment.
And that's like looking at a photo.
Yeah. It's a lot. I think it's more. I think it's you remember stuff more.
Exactly. Well, because it's like a photograph, and you have a photograph that you remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I like that one. Another one that I use is a list of 100, and those are fun because it's kind of like just throwing things out. And it can be a list of things I want to do this year, a list of places I want to go, a list of friends that I want to get back into contact with. It can be any kind of list. And the idea is you 1 to 100, and you can repeat. You know, but the idea is to write them as quickly as possible. Just
So
get
it's
them out.
brainstorming. It's
Yes.
brainstorming.
Yes.
It's fast
Yes.
writing
Yes.
rather than doing a lot of thinking.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So those are some of the ones that I like to use. Of course, stream of consciousness and character sketch.
Yeah.
And that might be just writing a character, a person that I've just met, that I want to remember, you know. Or it could be a character sketch about one of my grandchildren, a friend. And sometimes I write those out and I send them to the people.
Yeah.
I also send captured moments too,
Right,
because if
right.
I've had a wonderful experience or an interesting experience with someone, I'll write it.
I think that makes it very
captured moment.
special.
It does.
Yeah,
it
because
does.
we go so fast in life. We go so fast. The digital age is fast. You know, the computer, all that stuff is just too fast. Everything's too fast.
Yes.
And
So
it's too instant.
This way, you keep it.
It's more
You keep
sacred.
it.
It's
You know,
more
you
sacred.
keep it here. You keep it here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So those are just some of the ones that I like to use. There's 17 of them.
Okay.
I've learned.
Wow.
And they all have to do with self-discovery, learning about who we are, how we fit into this world, and our relationship to other people, into the world. So.
My question is, because I'm going to be working with teenagers fairly soon. In fact, I started some work with another woman, and I'm going to be doing some things with teens. Have you worked with teenagers where you can help them with journaling?
I have not.
Okay.
But it's an area that I would like to.
Yeah. Because you know,
pursue.
teenagers are at that place where they really need a place.
Yes.
They need a place to, you know, a safe place where they could for them to discover and to really, you know, express who they are, truly who they are.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, letters to their mother and you know, letters to their teacher, you know, and letters to boyfriends that you know, I mean, all kinds of stuff that they keep secret, and sometimes because they keep secret, they don't have a place to express it. Yeah, I think journaling is a real important thing. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you and I could put something together for that. Yeah.
I love that.
And what about women who, say, have an area, like there is an organization that, again, my friend is involved with, which, by the way, you will meet her eventually. Her name is Nicole. She and I are going to be working with rape victims in the military. And she specifically is going to be working with women again. And that's where journaling could come in. Journaling could come in there to help women really help deal with their feelings about situations like that.
I believe that journaling can help in any kind of healing journey. And let's face it, we're all on a healing journey. We're all healing for something.
Right.
You know, right
Our
now,
scars and
it's,
stuff like
you know,
that.
it could be a loss of a job, in addition to the rape, in addition to a death of a loved one.
Yeah.
There's just all kinds of healing that we need to do.
And
healing from our childhood,
also
even if it was a great childhood.
Retrospecting, you know, and resolve. You know, one of the things I did when I was working in Sanford is I worked with seniors, and we helped them to retrospect. We helped them to resolve things that happened many, many years ago by them journaling and doing some art and stuff like this. So that's another area that would help. That journaling would help.
Yes.
You know.
I found that the biggest help that the journaling gave me is in the area of forgiveness.
Yeah.
We need to forgive ourselves for doing things that we did not know we were doing or intentionally.
Yeah.
I will tell you, the biggest issue, my son took his own life. And I'm his mother.
Sure.
You know, I should have been there for him.
And there was
what
a lot
did I
of
do
need
wrong?
for forgiveness for
exactly.
that. Sure.
But then there was forgiveness for him, for leaving me. And then there was forgiveness for things like in my childhood with a mother and a stepfather. So in the journaling, I was able to be able to write about that, write about forgiveness.
Right.
And in the writing of forgiveness and in processing that and in achieving the forgiveness, I was able to go on and heal.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of that. My mother and I did not have a good relationship, and there was many issues that were involved in that, mainly because my mother was borderline, her IQ was borderline.
Mhm.
And so she wasn't the kind of mother that everybody, all my friends had. You know, the loving mother, the mother that could help you, the mother that could answer your questions. And there were several times.
Let's talk a little bit about art journaling, which is, in a sense, almost a different animal, in the fact that there are people who are now crossing over from scrapbooking to, it went from scrapbooking and now it's going into more art journaling. And art journaling is a way for people to journal without having to write necessarily. They can art journal through imagery. And sometimes imagery can be powerful enough to where you don't need the writing. However, I believe that you can use both. You can use both the art journaling and imagery and then write about the imagery. It's a good trigger point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's art journaling.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think about
but
that?
I believe that any kind of creativity is a way of expressing who we are. And that could be music, it could be dance, it could be quilting, of course painting, any kind of the expressive arts is an aid in our healing process.
It is, yeah.
And it's an aid in finding out who we are creatively, and finding out what our interests are.
Yeah,
okay?
Right.
And I know your interest is in the arts, and because I use words, my interest is in the writing.
In
journal.
the writing,
yeah.
sure.
Yes, I do use images. I haven't done any collaging in a while, maybe because of moving. But I do use visuals. One of the things I'm doing right now, I put cards. People send me cards. I put cards in my journal. But one of the things I'm doing now is I'm going through old photos, and when I find some that I don't really want to keep, that I'm getting rid of, sometimes I'll stick them in here. So like I found all these old pictures of my daughter. So this is a collage of my daughter, and these old pictures of my son. So this is my visual way of expressing myself visually. You know. So but one of these days I make it into more of the art journal, because I do know it's a way of expressing.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, there are ways where you can, I've done this, where you write a letter, but you don't let the letter show. You basically cover the letter up with paint or with collage. Then you've done two things. You've done your catharsis, but the other hand, you have protected yourself. You have kept it secret. And it works both. It actually works together. It works together really nicely. Okay.
Now, one of the things I have done in the past is I did create a treasure map where you have your big piece of poster board. A vision board. Yes. And I threw things on there. And I had it on my wall in my office in my old home. And I came home one day and I looked at the vision board and I was like, I've been there. I did that. I went there.
Yeah, it's like, powerful, isn't it?
Oh my goodness.
It's powerful. It's a very powerful tool.
I need to do that again.
Yeah, it is. Especially if you're in a transition place where you're starting off in a new place or new situation, or you're just beginning to get to the place where you're going to be creating new things.
And that's where I am right now.
It
because
is.
we
It's
just
great.
moved.
It's a wonderful.
And my husband just retired, and I'm teaching yoga, and I'm getting more into my creative stuff than I've had in the past few years.
And one of the things I want to share with you is that Pinterest is a great resource for finding images. Like for instance, you might want to find some images that represents your creative work. You don't necessarily have to rely on magazines all the time. Sometimes magazines just don't have the images that you want. Relying on the internet is a great place because it's It's a treasure place
Exactly.
to find imagery. And so there's lots of resources that can be tapped into when you do your vision board, you know, because magazines are great, but they are a little bit limited sometimes when you're looking for something specific. Yeah, yeah.
The other thing I've done with imagery is, I just remembered this, I should have brought it, I wrote a poem, and I put the poem on the vision board, on the collage, and then I collaged about the poem.
Well, that's what you did with us.
Yes, that's what.
I remember those little cards that you had. You gave everybody a card, and it had a poem on the back, and it had the imagery, and the poem was about the image.
Right.
I think that's a great way to
Yes,
collage
it
too.
is. It is.
And that's also almost a non-threatening way of
Very.
beginning to use collage.
That's
as
why
a method.
collaging is really great, because it is non-threatening.
It is very non-threatening.
Yes.
Right, right. Because
But it is a way of speaking to us too.
It is, yeah, it is. Okay. I have another question, and the question is regarding your future work here. What do you think you want to do here in relation to what you have as far as your knowledge about journaling? What kinds of areas
Here in
do you
Southern
want?
Pines,
Oh, yeah,
or
here in Southern Pines.
In Southern
Yeah.
Pines. I
Well,
would,
they say Southern Pines, Aberdeen, Pinehurst.
in the area
this
here,
area.
in my
Even
new
Vass,
home.
Even Vass, yeah.
my
yeah.
new home.
Yeah.
I would like to start doing some journal workshops
Okay.
in some of the nursing homes,
Okay.
assisted living,
Right.
and I would like to get into the schools.
Okay.
I did give my card to a Girl Scout leader.
Oh,
I'm hoping
wonderful!
to-
That's a good thing. Yeah.
To get involved in that.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking about finding maybe NAMI, because I do work with grief and healing and mental health. Also, I'm a physically fit person, and so I belong to the fitness center. I'm thinking about finding out if they might want to do a program there.
Oh, so that's a great idea. Yeah, you've got some good ideas. Okay, wonderful. Well, you know that Sandy and I are going to be doing the Women of Wisdom. I would like for you to come to it, because that's where your journaling could come in for sure.
Right.
And also, Sandy and I are going to be doing a lot of things at the yoga center.
Okay.
And then, of course, that retreat that's coming up. I really want you to be involved with that.
Great.
If you want to.
I would love to do that.
We have an art journaler that's coming in, but we don't have anyone that's going to be teaching a particular technique. So if you would like to be one of the teachers, I would like for you to consider being one of the teachers.
That would be great.
In the retreat.
At the retreat.
The retreat is 2 days.
Right.
It's May 14th and 15th,
Right.
Saturday and Sunday. Saturday it will be at the horse farm and in Vass. She's got a gorgeous horse farm. It's not your typical horse farm. And then Sunday it will be at the yoga center.
And what yoga? Oh, at Sandy's.
Yeah, it's Sandy's. Yeah,
Oh,
the yoga center.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I need to talk to her about that.
Yeah. So we are doing the women, the Circle of Wise Women. We're starting it here, and then we're going to transfer everybody over to the yoga center, because we really want it to be at the yoga center, just like our Women of Women of Wisdom thing we did. Yeah, because I want this is for Sandy. This is for Sandy. I want to help her keep the yoga center open.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. However, okay, in just one sentence, what would you say about the power of journaling?
The power of journaling is a beginning journey that can last our lifetime.
Very good. I like that. Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you very much.